It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is brand new music from the band Bonfire. The new album is called Fistful of Fire, and it is an ass kicker. The name of that tune should prove that to you. It's called Gotta Get Away. And here's a guy that's got to get away from being at home and got to get back on the road, I'm assuming. It is the bassist of Bonfire, Mr. Ronnie Parkes. Ronnie, how are you?
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Yeah, exactly, man. I got to get out of this house. I can't take it anymore.
Now, I got to ask you, Ronnie, right off the bat, are you playing at least? I mean, is that what musicians seem to be doing these days, is just sitting at home and practicing and playing and writing?
Yeah, I mean, I always play anyway, just sitting around, and I always pull out a guitar and just start playing. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what I've been doing, just that and eating. So
right.
Hopefully I can fit out the door when it's time to get out.
That seems to be everybody's biggest fear, is that they're going to put on the I've seen it called now like, you know how they have the freshman 15. Now I've seen the virus 15 is a new term that's being put out there.
That's totally true, man. It's totally true.
It's too funny. Well, once you do get back out there, you will have something awesome to promote for, at shows. And this new record, Fistful of Fire, I'm going to argue that it might be the most energetic and big sounding release that Bonfire has had. What a great record, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, we feel really good about this record. And, I mean, Bonfire has such a history of records. It's not so known in the USA as it is in Europe.
Right.
In Europe, it's very well known. And in Europe, we toured, I wasn't in the band at the time, but they did tour with Judas Priest and toured with ZZ Top. The whole European tours. So Bonfire has been built up in Europe for a really long time. And here it's just kind of just recently people starting to know about it.
Do you think that people are starting to know about it because the internet itself has made the world a smaller place, at least for people that are looking for music?
Yeah, very well could be. Because back then when they did do those tours, they were on a really big record label, and they lived in the USA actually for a really short time when they were writing one of their biggest records. And now it's the internet makes everything smaller, so people can hear anything.
Right, definitely. Yeah. Well, this new release, Fistful of Fire, it really, one of the things that it feels like, at least as an outsider looking in, is it feels like you guys, after a couple of years working together, have settled in with Alex on vocals.
Yeah.
How has the band changed since Alex took over the vocal spot?
Yeah, I mean, Alex is a great singer. He doesn't sound like anybody else. Like, he can't, right. You could say, oh, this guy sounds like Rob Halford, or this guy sounds like, but Alex just sounds unique. And that's one of the really great things about his voice. And he's got a really great stage presence, and just his whole persona is really great. So, yeah, I mean, since Alex has been in the band, everything just seems to flow together. All the guys in the band came from heavier bands in the past. So it also brought a little more edge to everything. So Bonfire, I'd say in the last 5 years, we've gotten a little bit heavier than we used to be.
And it shows on Fistful of Fire. I was going to say to you, this release has so much more energy. Not that the other ones were flat or boring or anything, but this just is like a real rocker. It is a definite upgrade in energy from the last at least 3 releases.
Yeah. We're totally digging it, and I mean that's the type of music we all like. So it comes out very natural, and we're just what comes out. We're just trying to make good songs. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel and be a band from 1986. And
right.
In 2020 we're like a totally different band. We can't do that really. So we just play what we do.
Right. Sure.
And it comes out and it works.
And that's probably, not that there's ever any advantage to not being a big band when the band, originally came out, but the fact that a lot of people here in the States really didn't discover Bonfire until more recently, it doesn't limit what you can do to the sound that you created, 35 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Bonfire's biggest album was Fireworks from 1986.
Right. So,
and at that time, I think they were on MCA Records, And, it was around the same time, a little bit later than the Scorpions. Mm-hmm. But in Germany, it was, the three big bands were the Scorpions, Bonfire, and Accept.
Right.
And people in the USA it just never caught on. Accept and Scorpions caught on in the USA, but Bonfire, for some reason, never did. So the European presence is really big, but in America, it's not so big.
Isn't it weird how there are bands obviously like Bonfire and Annihilator comes to mind too, that are just, really great bands and have a long history, but yet for whatever reason, it just never caught on. And you would think, especially in those times where it was kind of limited as to the press that you could get. But man, I remember reading about Bonfire in Hit Parader or Rip or, those types of magazines. It's just odd that the band never exploded here in the States.
Yeah, it is very strange. I don't know why. I mean, there are a lot of bands even now, there's bands that are really big in Europe, like Nightwish and stuff like that. But here, they're not so big.
Yeah.
They're, even Rammstein. I mean, in Europe, forget it. He sells out stadiums and everything. But, this is his first time coming over here. But actually, that, I think, probably got canceled as well.
Oh, yeah.
I saw he had a tour coming up here.
Yeah. And, boy, you talk about that band. What an amazing, not to get off the beaten path, but what an amazing run for those guys. They're one of those bands that 99% of Americans can't name 3 songs of, and yet they still sell out stadiums. It's crazy.
Yeah, and they sing in German, so I probably 90% can't even understand what they're saying.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's just the sound of the music, maybe, I guess, or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, crazy. Well, for you, Ronnie, the one thing that stands out with you being in Bonfire is you're the lone American that's based here, I believe. Is that? Yeah. What kind of difficulties does that cause for you? I got to imagine that makes it not really the easiest situation to write in.
Yeah, I mean, I've been dealing with going to Germany now for 6 years, I think. Okay. About 6 years. And I mean, it was a real culture shock because, I mean, of course, I've been to Europe before, but I never to this extent. Now I go there and I'm there for 2 months or 3 months. I actually had to get a visa to live in Germany. And, all the guys, they do speak English, and a lot of people do speak English in Germany. And German is so hard to learn.
Right.
It's really I've been working on it for 5 years, and I can understand a lot, and I could go into a store and order something or something like that, But half the time I don't know what people are saying. So that does create a little bit of a difficulty. I actually was planned. We had a tour. I should be on tour right now, but obviously under the conditions, that's not possible. Right. So we had a tour for 20 days, I think, in April, starting on April 2nd. And then in May, I was going to be moving to Ireland.
Okay.
Because my wife is Irish, and it's just easier to go back and forth between Ireland and Germany than it is the USA and Germany.
Sure.
It's a lot cheaper and it's a lot shorter flight. So the plan was to move there, but now that's also for me, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen now with that. I don't know. And I think this whole thing with this pandemic is going to change the way people travel.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be something like 9/11, I think, where they made security really important, because even if they do let everybody go, and they say, okay, everything's back on, you can come to Germany now. But the borders are closed right now between other countries, between Italy and Germany and Switzerland. So I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I have no idea. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
As a musician, will you have some apprehension about just getting on a long flight like that? Because I mean, as well as I do, you get on a plane, it's 9 hours. Germany's 9 hours or something like that?
Yeah, it's about 7 hours, 8 hours. Yeah.
So that's 7-8 hours of breathing air that other people have breathed, and you don't know where they've been either. That's scary stuff. It's weird how it was not scary at all 6 weeks ago, and now now all of a sudden we're petrified of breathing in the wrong germ.
Yeah. And, hopefully, I mean, I've been watching the news a lot and stuff, and they've been saying that, the numbers are a lot lower than they expected.
Sure.
And so hopefully it's not as bad as they were predicting, and that everybody staying home really helped a lot, So hopefully things get back to normal faster.
Yeah.
I hope.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
Well, Ronnie, let's talk about the first single, which sort of ties into this. It's "Rock and Roll Survivors," which certainly we're all rock and roll survivors at this point. But that song, outside of the coronavirus, that song really seems to be a kind of a theme about the band itself. It seems like the band has survived a very long time and is still going. Was that the intention with Rock and Roll Survivors, or is it just kind of a cool song and the words fit, or how did that come to play?
It kind of, as we were writing the songs, a lot of times we'll say, oh yeah, this song would be great if it was about this, or about that. And then I'm actually the one who writes the lyrics. And, so, I'll come up with an idea of what we had. And he actually mentioned that to me. He said, like Rock and Roll Survivors. And then I just went with the lyrics with that, and it's really true because he's been around since 1986 with this band, and we're still out there playing shows. People show up and they sing the songs and they know the songs and buy the albums, and it's still working. It's still working. So yeah. And
it has a cool video with the female boxers in it. It's a very cool, very, very rock video that goes with it.
Yeah, she's actually a three-time world champion kickboxer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had met her in Germany. We were doing some tour, and she was friends with Bobby Kimball.
Okay.
From Toto, and he was part of this thing that we were doing, and so that's how we met her. And then when we were thinking about the video, we're like, what should we do? Let's do a boxing. Hans came up with the idea. Let's do a boxing match. And that's perfect for Rock and Roll Survivors. Like, we never go down,
Sure.
And we called Tina, and she has a fitness studio with a boxing ring and a film studio, so she fit perfect. So yeah, we called her up, and she's like, yeah, and we said, well, you want to be in it? Yeah, great, I'll be in it. And she actually really took some punches, man, in that video. She really did. Like, they were really hitting each other.
And you were like, damn, don't hit me like that.
Yeah, we were sitting on the side watching the whole thing, and we're like, whoa, man. There was a couple times the other boxer really connected and really hit her hard. We were like, wow.
That's commitment to the craft, my friend.
Yeah. And she's great, man. She has her own band too, and she was actually going to be a support band for us on the tour in April. So, unfortunately, we'll see what happens.
Right, certainly. Well, the other song that really stood out, at least to me, and most of the songs on Fistful of Fire are excellent, but the one that stands out to me as a real strong track is the title track, Fistful of Fire. That is far and away probably my favorite song that I've heard from Bonfire in years, man. What a great track.
Yeah, that is a cool track. I really like that too, and especially as we were recording it, as it was coming out, I'm like, man, this song sounds different. It sounds old, but it sounds new, but it sounds like kind of little, I don't know what. It just sounds different, you know.
Right.
And I really liked it. And the whole premise of the song was, Greta Thunberg. You know who that is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she was on the news like every day, and some of it I was like, okay, I get it, and I give her respect because she was a 16-year-old kid and ended up speaking at the UN,
Right.
So you have to give her credit for that. Not many 16-year-olds get that far with what they're trying to do. But at some points I felt her approach was a little like, how dare you and all this.
Right.
So the lyrics are kind of really like a tongue-in-cheek, It's true, we do have to save the world. But, I think there's a certain way to do it and not go – you can't go full crazy and just change everything. And, I mean, you can't. It's impossible,
Right.
So that's basically – it's like a tongue-in-cheek, It's sung from her followers or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
From that point of view.
Right.
So.
And it came out so strong, man. It's probably the most hook-filled song on the whole album as well. It really pulls you in, man. It's a great tune.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I mean the whole album is full. it's all hooks, man. Everything is hooks.
Yeah, no kidding.
No. Yeah.
It's made for a fishing trip, as they say, because it's all hooks.
Yeah. But I mean, that's, I like that type of music. I like music that's, if it's too deep or too, I listen to music to not worry about my problems. I don't, right. I don't want to, or like if stuff is too heavy, I mean, I can't imagine, like, okay, like you mentioned Annihilator.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine waking up every morning and listening to that, driving to work and then driving home. And then, it would get me angry. I'd want to beat people up or something. So, I mean, I like the heavy and I like it in doses. But I like commercial music, man. I'm not a young kid, and I was into Eagles and stuff like that too. So I like that, and I appreciate that type of music. So we try to incorporate that as well.
Well, and you know what? That kind of music is more timeless. When you go heavy, when you're a Pantera or Annihilator or Anthrax or whatever, it plays to a certain audience, but a Motley Crue song can sound pretty good to anybody from 1986 to a kid today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for me, since I'm the one that writes the lyrics, when I started writing lyrics, I would look at songs and say, like, how do they do it? What makes a hit song? Why does a song have this catchy hook, or like, why does it stick in my head? And I just looked at it, and it can't be so deep. Right. It can't be where, like, I'm talking about clouds and metaphors and everything, and then it's like, what are you trying to say? What are you talking about? I mean, of course, everybody will get their own opinion of what the song means, but I noticed that it just needs to be simple, and really just simple. It doesn't need to be anything crazy. And all the best hit songs from history are simple songs. They're really simple,
Yeah. No, yeah.
So,
and sometimes when you get too message driven, it alienates your audience. It just alienates a bunch of people from listening to, because they don't necessarily agree with you. I've always thought it's much better when you don't know what it's about and you can put your own meaning to, your own stamp on it.
Yeah, or it's just something that's not so deep.
Exactly.
It doesn't need to be about, saving the world and everything, or political statements and all that stuff. It just doesn't need that.
Right.
It doesn't need it. That's not really what music's about. Okay, I get the point. You're popular and you have a voice and you can use it to say something good, but what you say good for you is not good for somebody else. So why waste your time, man?
Yep, I agree, man. Yep. Well, Ronnie, I know it's a weird time. Can you even look forward and have any idea what's next for Bonfire? Or are you like the rest of us, just kind of watch Netflix until this is done and then start making decisions?
Well, yeah, I mean, we do. The album is doing really good and actually charted in Germany. We just found out today, charted at number 20 on the official German chart. So that's really good. And we did move all the dates that we were supposed to be doing right now to September, in hopes that things are better by then. We did have some big festival shows in the summer, but I really doubt that those are going to happen. We had a really huge festival we were doing in Russia. It was going to be in Moscow, I think in August. I'm not sure if that's happening because, of course, you know how it is. Mm-hmm. Who knows what's really going on in Russia, with the situation. So, right. I don't know what's going to happen. And that was supposed to be a really big festival. I think AC/DC was playing, and
wow,
they were really getting some really big bands on there. So I don't know. I don't know if that's still going to happen, and I don't know the situation in Russia either. So
sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're just hoping for the best. That's all.
Right. Well, for now, since nobody's going anywhere anyway, your best bet is to check out the brand new release from Bonfire. It is called Fistful of Fire. It's available wherever you buy music, and it's certainly available anywhere that you stream music. So, yep. Ronnie, why don't we wrap this one up with you picking a song from the album? Maybe tell us a quick story about it. Okay.
How about When an Old Man Cries?
All right, and why that
one? That's about just two versions on there. The last one is an acoustic version, which I kind of almost like better.
Okay.
And then there's the regular version which is in the middle. And this song was about Hans. basically everybody in the band is older. The band's from 1986. So,
right.
Hans's son was having some problems with drugs and the police and different things, and now Hans is totally clean. He doesn't do drugs anymore. He partied like 1986, like a rock star would do in 1980s,
Right.
And now he doesn't drink. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do any drugs. He doesn't do anything. So he was basically, the song is about that. He's like, I lived my life and I did all this stuff. And really, it's not good. It's not going to get you anywhere, so don't do it. And the end of the story is that everything is good now. He's under control and everything's good. So, that's what the song is about. It was just about that time in our lives.
Awesome. Well, let's check it out right now. It is When an Old Man Cries. It's Bonfire right here on your Classic Metal Show.